when you make something, you're excited about it. And when you go to put that out, the audience can sense the excitement that you have for it because it's fresh. The longer you sit on it, it can get a bit stale sometimes. And I think there's not like really such thing as perfect. You can get very close to it, but you can, as creatives, we're always going to say it. You're probably hardest on yourself in a sense, and you see flaws and things that other people don't see. So, if you didn't point out a flaw on something to somebody else, they probably wouldn't see it. But if you do point it out, then they either do see it or they think they can see it because you see it. You know what I mean?
On this week's episode of the That Sound podcast, we have another local musician, Micko. Micko is a hip-hop artist that has broke onto the scene within the last few years, and he continues to hone and work on his craft to bring you the best music that he possibly can. Unfortunately, this week, I was without Gavin.
I had a dose of the whooping cough. Very good podcast. I listened back to it. Very good. You're going to enjoy it.
Strap yourselves in and enjoy. Welcome to That Sound podcast. I am your host, Luke Cassidy. This week I will be on my own without Gavin, and my guest today is Michael Gartlin, also known or better known as Micko.
Thank you, Luke. Yeah, Micko, what's up?
Absolutely great to have you here today. Looking forward to discussing some of your music from the past, the present, and what is to come in the future from Micko.
I'm looking forward to it too. Yeah, thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. So tell the audience a little bit about yourself for those who don't know.
Yeah, sure. There's probably more of you that don't know who I am than do know. But my name's Michael. I go by Micko, and I am an artist, producer, and I make music, mostly rap, hip hop. And I've been making music since I was about 13. And I release music on all platforms. I've been releasing music since about 2016, and I have 2 EPs out and over 80 singles, and always working on new stuff.
Your work ethic is something that I admire greatly, and I guess that's from knowing you on a personal level, and I see the commitment that you have to your craft. Can you explain what your process is like?
Yeah, sure. Thank you. Anyway, for a start, I like being as efficient as possible, and I think that has come with just doing it for so long. I produce and write, mix, master, engineer, and do everything myself. And I think once you get good at, putting all those pieces together, you can find a kind of flow that works for you. But I just sit down and, sometimes I make the beat first and then write the song. Sometimes you have an idea for a song, then you make the beat. So there's not really one set way of doing it, but a lot of times I do make a beat first and I have something in my head that I want it to sound like. But in terms of, creating a song from start to finish, it's like just try and get through it really as quickly as possible. Set up the mic, just record. Try not to waste much time doing too many takes. Just, it comes with time as well. Like the more years you spend doing it, the more confident you get with your voice when you're recording, the more confident you get with your skills in terms of knowing when something is good enough to move on and say that's finished. And then just, when you're mixing, mastering stuff and releasing it, just, being happy with what you've made and just move on to the next thing then and kind of keep it moving. Because if you look back on something for too long or spend too long making something, you can talk yourself out of it very quickly. So I think it's just a matter of, moving on to the next thing as quickly as possible and getting through it. Yeah,
that's a very good point. It is very easy to talk yourself out of doing something, or to say that's not good enough, or that needs more of this, or to procrastinate on a certain issue. Do you have a checklist or a process of elimination for certain things, be it I need this standard of engineering, or I need the beat to sound like this in order for the track to make the team?
Yeah, it's probably more of a mental checklist really than something written out. But you have something in your head for what you want it to sound like, and you have your own standards. You want it to at least meet those standards. You know what I mean?
For sure.
ideally like exceed them. But yeah, it's just trying to be the best that you can be when you do every single task. You know what I mean? Whether you're writing or whether just trying to put your all into everything, and as long as you do your best, you'll probably make something pretty decent.
Brilliant. Well, it seems to work for you, surely.
Yeah, thank you.
I know you'll continue to work on the process, but it's been a long time in the making, and it's definitely something that you've been getting right for some time now.
Trying.
It's like the magic recipe.
Yeah, something like that. I don't know if it's don't have it nailed yet, but yeah, making progress and closing the gap between where you are and where you want to be.
Where you want to be
is one of the big things. Like, and that comes back to what we were just saying there a minute ago with deciding when something is good enough.
Yes.
Because when you're starting, you can't expect to be where you want to be immediately. So you're going to end up probably spending like 10 times longer on something than you want. But when you find out a process like that works for you, you're able to just do it a lot quicker, and that, the quicker you get at it, the better you get, and vice versa.
When you start to close that gap, you become more efficient.
Yeah.
Which is ultimately the aim of the game, because it allows you then to produce more music.
Yeah.
Or to work on what's important.
Yeah.
The music being very important in what you do, it's also important to note for our listeners that you're fully self-sufficient, that everything you see that is released from Micko is all done by yourself.
Yeah.
The artwork, the engineering, the writing, beat making, everything.
Yeah, that's the way I've done it. I was actually talking to another artist about that as well only a couple of days ago, and we were saying that we both started doing it the same way, and she was saying that she doesn't like wasting time either, likes being efficient, and actually doesn't like say just coming up with ideas for too long. We'd rather just get into it and make something as quickly as possible. And it actually got me thinking about something that is the relationship between how you start making music and the music that you make.
That's
how that
actually a
impacts
very
it, because
interesting point.
we were talking about, like, as you said there, like, I started making music when I was 13 just on my own. That's still the way I do it, and I actually find it a bit, I haven't done loads of it, but I do find it a wee bit difficult or awkward to do it with someone else in the room.
Okay.
So if you're writing something, you mightn't be as, say, personal in what you're writing. If someone else is, you might feel like, I have to appease this person more if they're in the room, whereas I think if there's no one there, you can just put it out and you forget about it.
You're feeling like they might cast the eyes of judgment upon you.
Yeah. Whereas people that make music with lots of other people in the studio, I feel like sometimes they're trying to please the people that are just in the studio.
Instead of pleasing themselves.
Rather than pleasing themselves. Because I think as an artist and musician, no matter what you do, you have to make music that you like first. That's really like the ultimate.
It's important to be authentic, and it's important to be honest.
Yeah.
And for those of you who are listening in, myself and Michael would both often talk about the teachings in the books, The Four Agreements and The Alchemist. And we would talk about that often, mostly over coffee, that those conversations go on for far too long. But we hope not to do that today on the podcast.
But no, yeah, for sure. Like, there's loads to be learned in books like that, yeah, for sure.
I think it's important in this day and age, and it's definitely something that you portray in your music, is that authenticity and that honesty.
Yeah, definitely. I think it's difficult to be happy with something if you know that it's not true to yourself.
If it's not you.
I mean? Yeah, and I think what's the point in doing music if it's not something that is a piece of you? You know what I mean?
Yeah,
that's
if
the
you
way I look
can't
at it.
express yourself, then there's really no point doing it.
Yeah, like it's the same with, you express yourself through an instrument, even if you don't sing or write songs. It flows through whatever instrument you're using or whatever medium you use to create art. It comes through it. So
for sure,
definitely.
Well, to get back on that topic of how you started writing music, the relationship between that and how you continue to write music now.
Yeah.
What can you tell us about that?
Oh, I think it gave me a lot of time to kind of look inwards.
Okay.
And you spend so much time just kind of alone you become, I suppose, pretty self-critical, but it pushes you to improve as well, because if you don't have really anybody else telling you maybe, you know, how to improve, then you're going to have to dig a bit deeper and try and find it out yourself. So I think it brings you to a place ultimately where you have learned everything the hard way.
Yes.
Almost, you haven't taken any shortcuts because you didn't know what the shortcuts were in the first place.
You learned how not to spend 4 hours trying to find the correct level, or trying to work a channel, or something that is just dismal altogether.
Yeah, exactly. And I think you get then to a place where ultimately you're, I don't want to say a master of something, but you know it inside out, you know what I mean? So you know exactly how not to do it, you know exactly how to do it. And that like impacts your music ultimately. You know what I mean?
Hugely, yes.
Whether it's just on the technical side in say time or project management or creativity as well. You know, I think some people don't see the link between the technical side of it and the creativity, but there definitely is a link there. So I think all those things really, you know, I learned them from just the way that I started music and the way that I still make music. Yeah.
Brilliant. Well, can you take us back to where your roots began?
Yes.
You know, you often tell me that nice story of where you had that moment, say, of where or when you wanted to start, or when you knew, I think this is my thing. Yeah. This is going to be my niche. This is what I love. Yeah.
Yeah, I just remember having a thought one day. I was listening to music. I was probably like 12. And I kind of was getting obsessed with hip hop like pretty quickly. I actually didn't used to like music before that at all.
Okay.
And then I found hip hop and I fell in love with that. And then I'd say within like the first year of listening to it, I just had a thought one day. And I remember for some reason it just I have an image like in my head of where I was and what I was doing. I was just in the car, in the back of the car, and I had headphones on and I was looking out the window. And I can remember seeing a bridge. I don't know where it was. I think it was in Ireland somewhere. But I just had a thought, I can do this. It never occurred to me before that. Like, why would I not write a song or try to do this? At least try and write a song or try and write lyrics. And then from there, just very quickly, it was like, right, I need to start writing songs. Didn't buy my first mic until I was like 15. So I'd say there was 2 or 3 years of just writing songs from 12 or 13 until like 15. Started recording stuff.
Which is huge. That's a big window of practice.
And I think like I love lyricism. And the first like 3 years, I'd say, were just focused mostly on lyricism, which I like that I did that because like no one likes whack lyrics really. Like, you know what I mean? Like the music has to be good too.
But something makes sense. You have intent with your lyrics.
Yeah, yeah. And I think I probably gained that from spending so much time just doing that, you know, just writing lyrics just every single day, writing. Like I have notebooks at home full of stuff. That's, you know, that's never going to come out because it was just practice, you know what I mean? But you'd write like 2-3 songs a day for 3 years, and you know I still do that, but it's like I wasn't doing anything else back then. It was just lyrics. So
it's great that you have those notebooks still, that you can look back on that and see where you started.
Yeah,
that'll definitely be of some benefit in the future.
Yeah, I don't know. It'd be pretty cringe. I'll be looking back on some of them, but you know, it's nice to have them. Yeah,
it's like reading an old journal. Well, for me, reading an old journal can
it's
be
the same thing. Like it's basically journaling through music, just making it rhyme. Like, isn't it really?
Yeah,
you
for
know,
sure.
In a way, yeah.
For sure. Listening to some of those old drum tracks that I would have played with certain bands or projects from 10 years ago, there's 1 or 2 I'm like, oh, I can't listen to that.
Yeah. But it shows the growth, you know. That's as you said. It's nice to look back on it because even if it is a bit cringe, it's, you know, it's obviously not up to where you are now. It shows how far you came, and it like makes you think, well, I can go a lot further too.
Yes, for sure. And playing on that, when you had said that at that moment in the car, it had hit you, why can't I do this? Or maybe this is something we can do, or you could do. How do you deal with the harsh inner self-critic?
I think I use it as motivation to get better. I don't beat myself up over things, you know. There's no point doing that because that doesn't work, in my opinion anyway. It doesn't work for me. So, you know, I think ultimately it's like a version of you that you want to be, so you can just use it as a kind of map to get there, nearly, you know what I mean?
For sure.
Just try and use it as motivation. Take the good bits from it and figure out how you can get better, really. Yeah. I wouldn't beat myself up over it. I don't think I'm too harsh on myself, like, in the wrong way, you know what I mean?
Very good.
Try and just look at what's going well and just do more of that.
Just focus on that.
Yeah.
Hyper focus on the good stuff and let that come.
Pretty much, yeah.
Brilliant.
Yeah.
Absolutely brilliant. Well, if we get into some questions about the origins of your interest, do you remember who was the first artist that you would have listened to?
Yeah, it was a guy called High Res. You know him.
Yeah.
We used to listen to him in school, and I think
Shout out High Res.
I think I brought him into like the bloody school, like, you know, a load of lads started listening to him then. But I actually found hip hop through watching COD videos.
Smiling is still a tune to this day.
Like watching like I don't know what it was, Modern Warfare 2 montage or something like that. I don't know when it was.
Those for sure.
So that was the first. He's from Florida, and yeah, he was the first artist I ever listened to. And then I kind of listened to a lot of underground people from then on out, and actually probably took like 2 years or so before I started listening to people like Cole, Kendrick.
Okay.
So I probably went the other way from underground to like the mainstream rather than you mainstream being a gateway, because it's easier to find. But I suppose that's just because I found it through a kind of strange route of like watching YouTube videos and
that was a good time for hip hop too.
Yeah, for sure.
We talk about being in first year or starting high school for the American listeners in the 2011.
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
Autumn, fall of 2011. So
yeah,
you had J. Cole's Sideline Story.
Yeah.
That year you would have had, was Take Care by Drake that year? I think
that was around then.
Might have been around then.
Loads of EPs, mixtapes.
There was a lot happening.
Like websites like DatPiff and stuff for hip hop. Stuff that, you know, you didn't get before. And I think that was when the internet really started kicking off in terms of ease of access and also ease of like means to record music.
And I think it struck a good balance then, because there weren't so many reels on Instagram. I don't think there were videos on Facebook at that time.
I can't remember.
Until a later stage, so we weren't seeing it on 4 or 5 different platforms. Like you had to log on to YouTube to watch White Boy 7th Street.
Yeah.
Lighten up some guys on COD.
Yeah. Yeah, like you didn't, it wasn't just easily presented. I suppose there was as you said, maybe a nice balance of, you had to go searching for what you really wanted and do some digging.
Yeah. To
find the stuff that really interested you. But it was all there, you know. It was all there. And I think, it was really good era hip hop. I still listen to stuff from that era, period. Like,
for sure.
It's like what you grew up on, really, you know.
Yeah, and I think some of those albums also maybe hold a place in your heart. They remind you of a good time. Like, I always have fond memories of Drake's Nothing Was the Same. And I had just got a voucher for Spotify Premium for Christmas.
Right.
And the album wasn't long out, so it was something that I just started bumping over and over
straight
and over
onto that
again.
Yeah.
And I was like, I really like this. This is brilliant.
Yeah. Yeah, it's nice to be able to look back and have something that reminds you of a certain period. Like,
yeah. Fondness.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
Well, on from High Res being the first artist that you would have discovered. Shout out to High Res from The Voice in Ireland. Can you remember what the first CD it was or album that you bought from a hip hop artist?
I guess it would have been different to the first one that I pirated.
We'll come back to that story.
But I think it was actually High Res as well. I think he had an EP called Smiling. If I'm not wrong, it was probably like 2013 or 14. I think it was that. There was one with like a picture of a clock, and I actually can't remember the name of it. But I think it was 2013, 14. I bought it on like iTunes. That would have been the first one that I bought. Yeah, I don't know when the first thing I bought physically was. Probably like when I was mad younger. Probably wasn't even hip hop, but
probably something else.
Yeah. Can't remember.
Very good.
That would have been the first hip hop one, though. Yeah, definitely.
So high res is very much
the
origin of the story. Well, could you give us an example of where that progressed to in the coming years?
In terms of
artists, where your journey led you.
Yeah, listening to different artists and inspiration. As I said, like it was a couple of years listening to underground artists like him. I started listening to like, just off the top of my head, like OCD, Motion Twist. I
remember, there's one song I wish I could start up that old iPod.
Probably on it somewhere.
Just there was one song in particular was really, like, really good, was in my rotation.
Right, yeah. They had loads of good tracks. It was them, like Hoodie Allen.
Hoodie Allen was big at that stage too.
Yeah, Mike Stud, just goes by Mike now. Just like loads of artists, kind of Time Flies as well. I don't know if they still make music, but they were very good. I learned a lot from freestyling about Time Flies. I remember looking at, I think his name was Cal, doing freestyle. I used to be listening to like Chris Webby as well.
Okay.
Like Riff Raff even as well. I used to watch all those freestyle videos, and then I was like, I didn't even know that was possible. I was like, nah, this has to be staged, because like that's how bad I was at it. I didn't even think you could freestyle. I didn't even know what it was. So it's like we've come a long way since then with freestyling. But and then it got to like Nas, Big L. Like when I was like 17, started listening to Nas, Big L, Mobb Deep. Still listen to them a lot. And then that was like heavy in the kind of rotation. Since then, for a couple of years, it was like heavy East Coast underground, not underground, East Coast boom bap, hip hop, and then it went to Cole, Kendrick, and it's kind of just a mix of everything now. It's like underground, mainstream, just mad stuff I found on YouTube, whatever, just friends, music, everything. Yeah,
brilliant. Well, that's great to know.
It's a good mix. Like, I don't really have like a playlist around that I go to, or certain artists. It's kind of just whatever I'm feeling. Yeah,
I think personally, it's very important that we listen to a broad range of music, or listen to some other genres as well, but even within the genre of hip hop, that you explore different artists, different sounds, as you said, with the heavy East Coast presence in your rotation for a while, a lot of boom bap stuff, which is very different at times from the West Coast feel.
Yeah, for sure.
It's very important that you have a knowledge of the history and the feel and where some of the big hitters have come from, or what their influences were, or where they started out.
Yeah, definitely. It shows you what's possible, and it shows you, like, in terms of growth and in terms of just the music itself, like what type of music you can make. You know, I think you probably become some sort of product of everything that you listen to put together in some sense. So I guess the more stuff you listen to, the more inspiration you have to pull from. But yeah, the East Coast stuff was, like, I got a lot of the kind of lyricism things as well from that, you know, listening to like Big L freestyles and Nas was just pure lyricism. And then I guess just the more stuff you listen to, as you said, the wider the scope that you have for appreciation for music as well, of different genres too.
For sure. When you got to visit New York, did you get to go see any landmarks that you wanted to see?
Not really, to be honest. No, we were only there for like two days, I think. So, I mean, it was just nice being in the place where hip hop was born. You know, you just get the sense from the city. It's a hip hop city. It's just sick being there. Yeah. Really cool.
Very nice. Very nice. Well, outside of hip hop, are there any genres that you're currently listening to, or that feature heavy in your rotation?
R&B. I listen to a lot of R&B. Guess a bit of pop, a bit of country music actually as well. Just singer-songwriter stuff. Yeah.
Brilliant. Could you give an example of some of the artists?
I guess you could say John Bellion, in a sense.
Yeah.
Like, I know he's hip hop, too, but there's a pop crossover there as well.
John Bellion's probably featured heavily in the rotation for
for a few
number
good
of
few
years.
years. I don't know, singer-songwriter, like, I don't go that deep into it, like John Mayer. Like country, I actually started listening to a lot of like kind of underground, I don't know if you call it underground country, but just stuff you find on YouTube.
Dirt road
just, like,
country.
I don't know what you call it, but
non-main road country.
yeah, like I don't know. I like discovering new artists. You know what I mean? Like, say if it's with hip hop, just an example. Last week, started listening to more of like Deontay Hitchcock,
Okay.
for example. That's just like one artist. And then I listen to like, the same in country, just small artist. It's just nice discovering new music. You know,
Very good.
no matter what genre it is.
Yeah, it's always nice to come across something that resonates with you, or someone who's not huge yet. And
Yeah.
hopefully some of these people will
Yeah,
become a big hit,
yeah,
and you just fall in love with a certain track.
yeah. There's so much music out there. You know, I think especially with hip hop, people say there's no good hip hop music anymore. And it's like, there definitely is. You just have to. It's out there. You have to go and look at it.
It's
You look
this-
for it. You know what I mean?
There is the same general consensus at times with metal music or
Okay,
heavy rock music, or I suppose with every genre.
probably.
People
Yeah,
would say the new up and comers definitely do not have it like the OGs did have.
yeah. And I guess that's, people say that based on what they hear on the radio and just what they hear on, you know, when they open up Instagram or TikTok. You're presented with the most popular songs in the genre, and if you don't like them, you know, you can't just brandish the whole genre as being not as good as it used to be or not as good as you'd like it to be.
I totally agree with that, and I think that there are some elements there, a conversation for another day altogether. There are some elements in that transfer over to life itself, with that if you don't go and do the work or do the digging
Yeah,
to look for that or find that
yeah.
point of view.
It comes back to making music too. Like, you can't expect to be where you want to be. As we said, with Closing the Gap, you know, you can't go to the gym and you know, get shredded the next day. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it
gonna
just
take,
doesn't
it's a
happen
journey, like,
overnight, or even
Yeah.
you explaining that to me with recording drums remotely for myself. It was like, okay, you're going to be pretty bad at this for a while, or
yeah, you
this
might.
isn't going to sound the way that your favourite drummer's studio does, or sound like how his tracks do, or you're not going to play on the next best thing, or the current best things album, next studio album, just after 2 or 3 weeks worth of working on
Yeah,
recording.
yeah. It's the same with everything. It takes time to get to where you want it to be. You know, you have
Yeah.
to build it, and I think as long as you understand that and you're willing to put the work in to get to where you want to be, you'll get there. You know.
I think consistency is the biggest
Yeah, for
tool
sure.
necessary for progress.
Yeah.
100%.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, well, what we're going to do now is we are going to take a quick break, and myself and Michael are going to introduce you to a track that we collaborated on called Keep It. You're going to hear a quick snippet of this and let us know what you think.
Yeah, let's go.
Right, I can feel it. If it's not by the check, you can keep it. If it's not by the check, you can keep it. Look, I don't chill out, I don't know about that. See what I want and it's so like that. 24/7, yeah, I roll like that. My very own rules, how I go about that business. If I start, you go back.
That was Keep It by Micko for you all out there who may not have heard that before. That will give you a representation of some of Michael's music, some of Micko's music here. An interesting fact is that that was actually a collaboration between the two of us, and that happened in
2021?
2021. Yeah, I think it was the summer of 2021.
I think so, yeah.
So that actually came about from a track you had put out previous that I had been jamming along to on the kit and had come up with something cool off the back of that. And I think there was just some separate part I had wrote that wasn't played to any music. It was just an idea, and you had taken an interest, or that had piqued your interest, and you thought that was cool that we could do something with it.
Yeah.
And we laid the drums on the, what was it, an Akai?
Yeah, it was the Akai. Yeah,
The Akai.
Yeah,
Cool. And then chop the sample.
yeah. It came together pretty quickly, really, in the end.
Yeah, we didn't spend very long on it. It was like an afternoon's work.
Yeah, it was, wasn't it? It was just, we got the sample, chopped it up, did the drums.
Yeah.
You know, it was pretty quick, pretty organic. Like,
Yeah, it
really,
didn't take...
I think you did like all the drums, didn't you?
I think so, for that. Yeah, for that day.
Yeah,
You might have had some ad-libs on the hi-hat, which was cool.
yeah.
Just
I can't really remember.
Yeah.
It was,
But it was nice.
yeah.
It was
I like that
pretty
track, yeah, and I actually did the verse for that first take as well, and just kept it. Yeah, I kept it.
Yeah,
just
kept it.
and just it was good enough. That's like what we were saying there a few minutes ago as well, about just realizing when something's good enough.
Yeah, keep it.
It's usually pretty good. It's usually like, you know, you hit something. You can only make something so good. You know, it gets to a point where you're like, oh, that takes good enough.
I was speaking to someone on that matter this morning about some tracking I had done yesterday, where I played something halfway through the track that I wasn't particularly happy with. And I was like, oh, I really don't like that, or that's going to be an ear sore. And when I listened back, it was not as bad as I anticipated it to be.
Yeah.
And like, I could have done 10 more tracks to iron out the smallest of imperfections, but what I had was worth keeping. It was totally good enough.
Yeah.
Like, it was good enough for final take. It was good for the final cut.
Yeah.
It could make the final cut.
Yeah, it's good. It's just up to you to make the decision then to say it's good enough, done.
And I think that comes with time too.
Yeah.
That's what we were saying about spending all of this time on it. Definitely something I done and pulled my hair out over when I was young. I was like, I can't get this sound, or that's not right, or why is that reverberating, or you know, all of those questions that you really put yourself in bad form over for. Well, personally speaking, I would be in a terrible mood for a number of days, or not fit to settle until it was the way I wanted it.
Yeah, that's not a bad thing though, you know. It's whatever motivates you to find the, you know, answer that you want, to find the final result.
Well, I definitely think it has helped me get to whatever level, or the level that I am at currently, and also drives me to continue on in the journey and to never settle, not to be happy or content. I wouldn't say not to be happy, but definitely not to be content with your current ability, or realize that this is a very long journey. It's a constant.
Yeah.
And consistency is definitely what you need.
Yeah. Because there's no destination to it, really. It's just the journey the whole way through. You have to enjoy it every day, really.
Yeah.
You know.
And it's to be enjoyed every day.
Yeah. Because you know, you're never actually going to get to a place where you're like, that's me, I'm happy now, I'm the perfect artist.
There's always something,
you know, and you're always going to have new ideas, and then you try and do it, and it's requires some other skill that you don't have yet, so you just push yourself. So, yeah, it's just a matter of, as you said, consistency, and
on a consistent basis.
Yeah.
Applying those habits.
Yeah.
Or practices.
Yes.
On a consistent basis.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah. So that was keep it really too, wasn't it?
It's
pretty quick.
Yeah.
And that's actually I think we said that earlier as well. About thinking, I think some people think that you can't make something in a short amount of time that's quality. Think like quality over quantity. You know the saying, like
quality.
That's thrown around in everything, not just music. Quality over quantity, but it's like, why not both? Why can you not have quality and quantity? Just keep, you know, the better you get, the faster you get, as you said already. But
what's that line that Kanye has made 5 beats a day for 3 summers?
Yeah, literally.
Like, I'm sure that was time management also.
Yeah.
So that was quality and quantity.
Yeah.
Because he had to make sure that they were all perfect. Well, not perfect, but that they were of a really good standard.
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, it's just understanding that you can make something in 20 minutes or half an hour or an hour that is really good. And you don't have to sit tweaking it for another 3 days. It can just be good enough. Like there's no rules on art. There's no rules on music. you can take a week to make a song, or you can take a month, or you can take an hour. It's like we say that as well. Sometimes it doesn't matter how you get to a point. It's the finished product that matters.
It's the finished product.
People
for
don't
sure.
hear, you're not going to listen to a song and think that was made in an hour. That was made in 3 months.
And it's
you don't
the same
know.
thing
You just
world
get
over, that a victory on the stage for an athlete,
Yeah,
a lot of people don't see the preparation that went into it.
yeah,
Or similar to the track,
yeah,
the final cut. Not many people understand what actually went into the process of creating that.
yeah,
How many drum takes it took,
yeah,
or how long it took to run some vocal takes,
yeah,
how long it took to search for the sound.
yeah,
Because sometimes you can hit a snare and say, yep, that's me, that's what I want for this track, or other days you can pull your head apart for
yeah,
3 hours on your drum sound
yeah,
until you finally get it.
yeah. And that's cool, because people don't need to know what you went through to get to where you are.
It's
And
an unnecessary
most people don't care either.
feature.
Like, most people don't care. They just want something that's good enough.
And I think that's another good fact, is that most people don't care.
Yeah,
So it's something not to get in your own way about, or something that you shouldn't get all hot and bothered about, is, oh, this is taking me too long, or this is, like you said, there's no time on it.
yeah,
It's nice to be efficient with it,
yeah,
but if you have something that takes you 4 hours, if you have something that takes you 4 days, if you have a project that takes 4 weeks,
yeah,
and it comes out exactly the way you want to do it, and most importantly, as we spoke on earlier, that it's for you,
yeah,
that it's not to please anyone else, it's exactly as you want it to be, then that's the most important thing.
yeah, exactly, yeah. That's the only way that you'll be happy with what you've made as well. As we said, is if you're happy with it, then surely someone else is going to like it too.
That was the story, you keep it.
Yeah, in a nutshell.
And
Or
listen, if you
so
don't like
much
it,
of a
you can
nutshell.
keep that opinion as well. So we'd rather not hear about it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, good track though. I still like that track, and I got a couple of spins on the radio too. Like I got like RTE and a couple of
I
spins on
actually
RTE.
remember
and
that
stuff
night
like,
where you
yeah.
rang me at like 11:30 some night.
Yeah, I
'cause
did,
We
yeah.
were after getting radio play.
Yeah,
And it
yeah,
was like, just, wow, our songs after getting radio play for something that we just made for fun.
yeah.
That was really for the love of music, of
Yeah.
an idea of
That's
just,
all the music
yeah,
though.
let's
Like, it's
run
just
with it.
make it for fun. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. But yeah, that song in particular, like it was, when you've no expectations really for it, it's like,
It was a surreal feeling for two lads that sat beside each other in the religion class in school, or in a lot of other classes, but
yeah,
didn't really maybe pay attention to what was going on, but
I really didn't pay attention.
really didn't pay attention at all. Not advised. Well, viewer discretion is advised. Use your own imagination.
Yeah,
Don't take my advice, is what Michael would like to say
yeah,
in this moment or any other moment. For two lads that sat in the religion class and spoke about their dreams and aspirations, with nearly every one of them either
Being
containing
crazy, yeah.
music or something to do with the byproduct of music being like cars or something like that we were also into at those times. But definitely some great memories.
yeah, yeah,
And then for that to come full circle, if we had said that at 14 or 15 to each other, it was 3 or 4 times a week, sitting for 40 minutes talking about all of these dreams, that, man, we're going to collab on this song and you're going to play the drums on one of my tunes and this is going to be on the radio and people are going to listen to this, I probably would have said, yeah, you can keep that thought to yourself.
yeah. But now it's like you don't even think about it. It's just
Yeah,
that's
you
just
don't-
kind of what happens,
you
isn't
don't
it? You
think
just go
about
and
it
you
at
just
all.
go and do it, and
Yeah.
it's like a routine, really.
So for all of you who like to keep it, there is another collaboration in the works between myself and Micko that we will talk about toward the end of the show.
Yeah, for sure. It's a good one too.
Well, moving on from Keep It, I would like to ask you a question that I ask all our guests on the podcast. as a performer, what would be your dream venue to perform in?
Dream venue, probably Red Rocks.
No way.
Yeah.
That's actually mine as well.
Is that?
Yeah.
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
It just looks so dope, man. Like,
Yeah, no, Red Rocks just looks different.
yeah.
And
I'd say it sounds incredible too. Like,
And caters for all genres. Have you seen I know metal or heavy rock isn't your thing, but have you seen the video of Gojira play Red Rock?
no.
They're a French
Okay.
heavy metal band. It's absolutely insane.
Good. Yeah.
And to the same level where you see Tori Amos or Dermot Kennedy play Red Rocks,
Yeah.
and you're equally as blown away by
Yeah.
their performance.
I think any videos I've seen of it, it looks like everyone in the crowd is so excited to be there as well because the venue's so special that it gives the show an extra buzz
Yeah.
in some sense. Like,
I feel it really brings out some of the best performance in artists
yeah,
as well.
Yeah.
Like Micheál Quinn, that has played or plays with Dermot Kennedy, plays drums for Dermot Kennedy, uploads some awesome drum cam footage.
Yeah.
And he had some drum cam footage from the Red Rocks gig, and it just looked insane.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, that guy's on another level, but just on the night seemed to just really have everything.
Just go crazy. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Just
so,
have it all line up.
Yeah. So I'd say that's my dream venue. Yeah.
That'd be pretty cool.
Definitely. Yeah.
Can you tell us about some of the markets outside of Ireland, the UK, the US and Europe that your music reaches, that you can see through some of your analytics?
Yeah, I think probably, I mean, my biggest one on Spotify, say just Spotify last year, was Spain.
Brilliant.
Also South America's quite good, Brazil in particular. But India as well.
India?
India for hip hop is huge now.
No way.
I think people sleep on India. And I think, well, yeah, people still do sleep on India, but it's becoming less of a thing because you see a lot of artists now doing huge shows there.
Huge shows
I mean,
in India.
obviously
And
it's
the population
massive
is
population, but they have
massive.
such a love for hip hop. It's crazy. They just love hip hop. So that's great to see. And I'd say India, South America, Japan. There's big hip hop culture in Japan as well.
Huge hip hop, huge music culture in Japan in general.
Yeah. Off the top of my head, I'd say that's the three biggest ones. Yeah.
Looks like there's going to be some tours to be organised.
Yeah, hopefully. Yeah, it'd be
That'd
nice, wouldn't it?
That'd be something.
That'd be
for sure.
Definitely be a world tour. India, Japan, Brazil. If you hit all that,
Yeah.
you'd be doing well.
You'd be doing well.
Yeah,
You'd have a lot of ground to cover.
yeah, you would.
It'd be an experience for sure.
Yeah. Hopefully, that's bucket list anyway. Yeah.
Definitely. Red Rocks and
Yeah.
all of the countries.
Yeah. Absolutely, yeah.
When we talk about the creative process behind you making your music, so what does that look like outside of what we done with Keep It? So right now on the stuff you're working on, can you talk us through what it's like from start to finish?
Yeah. So I think for singles, it's still just sit down and try and make the best song that I can. There's usually not any theme in terms of like I have to stick to this sound. You can sit down, like sometimes I can sit down and say I'm going to make a boom bap song, and it turns into like a love song.
Okay.
So it just doesn't. There's not really a structure to it. Sometimes you kind of just.
There's no hard and fast rules.
Yeah, you kind of just go wherever it takes you, whatever you're feeling that day. But if I'm making like I'm working on an EP at the minute, and I have made 2 EPs and released them already, but this time putting a lot more effort into making sure that the theme of it is like apparent kind of throughout the whole project.
That everything
follows
sort
the
of
theme.
holds
Yeah, and that sonically
throughout the tracks.
it's they're all similar, I suppose, in a way, but that they all at least have kind of core like qualities, or
If they're all boom bap, or they all have that maybe 90s feel, or
Yeah.
something that they all share that similarity.
yeah, and you get very specific with it then, and it's quite time consuming, but it's a different challenge. It's something that I did on the last 2 that I released, but I'm doing a lot more on this one. I'm putting a lot more effort into making sure that it's exactly how I want it to be, you know what I mean? But that requires kind of going back and forth a lot with different songs and referencing different tracks. And then even with the music videos as well, like, you know, some of the music videos that I've done recently that aren't out yet, trying to have a theme for those two,
also.
and trying to make sure that the visuals match the sonics, you know what I mean?
And I'm sure that can be time consuming as well.
Yeah, and it's tricky as well because it's like not something that I have that much experience with, you know. It's like sync nearly. It's like trying to come up with a vision for how would this song look if it was visible nearly, you know what I mean? If it wasn't a sound, if it was,
Yeah.
you know, if you could see it, what would it sound like? And trying to put that into a video. But you know, there's that in terms of making an EP. But yeah, like singles, it's just sit down and just start producing and yeah, work through it and just try and make as good of a song as I can, really. Yeah.
Very good. So that's really where it's at.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
And how are things coming along with that new EP? When can we expect to see that?
I think with this one, I'm not really putting it. I don't want to rush it, even though I like one of my favorite sayings is for creators that deadlines are our North Star. So you follow those. That's like the most important thing is to stick to a deadline, because without them you just keep keep going. You just keep going on.
Putting it on the long finger.
So I guess I'm making an exception to my own rule in this one.
Okay.
But you know, when it's ready, you're going to hear about it, and
we look forward to that.
Yeah, I think it's going to be. I'm looking forward to getting it all wrapped up and getting it put out.
That'll be good.
Yeah.
That'll be good. And on the release radar, what else have you got lined up before that? As I'm sure you have some.
Yeah, lots of singles. Really just lots of singles, a few music videos. You know, they're all going to be coming this year. I keep a vault of, I call it the vault, of all the songs that I have finished. You know what I mean? And that haven't come out yet. And there's a lot on it. There's a lot on it. There's probably over 100 songs like at this stage that are going to get dropped. That are finished.
Yeah.
So
we've got a lot coming.
It's a lot, like, yeah. So that they're all just going to be coming, you know what I mean? I have a schedule for them, so that's going to be, you know, announcing that as well. So you're going to hear about all them.
Do you find that you have a bit of freedom with that back catalogue ready to go? That it takes a little bit of stress off what you're going to do next? Like, you have the plan set, all you have to do is follow the actions, and it clears up some mental space for you, gives you clarity to focus on what's most important, which is ultimately making the music.
Yeah, I guess it does in a way. I think there's pros and cons to it. I was actually thinking about this recently. I don't, you know, if I was starting it again, say, I would actually just release them more, you know, as soon as I create them.
Okay.
Rather than trying to stockpile songs, because you can quickly move on from what you've made and not be that big of a fan of it. So a lot of the songs that I made recently, I just dropped them as soon as I made them, or at least scheduled them, you know what I mean, as soon as I made them, because I think when you make something, you're excited about it, and when you go to put that out, the audience can sense the excitement that you have for it because it's fresh.
You capture that excitement, and then that comes across.
It comes across that this is something new. This is, you know, you bounce off the artist's love for the song while it's still fresh. The longer you sit on it, it can get a bit stale sometimes.
I totally agree with that, or that resonates with me, and I would find that from my perspective when I'm playing the drums or playing the guitar, or if I'm co-writing with someone or writing a song, I'm capturing a mood or a thought in the moment that is maybe this minute or this hour or this day, and once I follow that, I feel it's become more important to finish things or to document the ideas, because if you just write some notes down either in your phone or physically in a book, and you don't sing or you don't play the guitar or you don't come up with an idea, you can lose the whole flow of it. You can lose the rhythm, or as you say, it goes stale.
Yeah, doesn't really mean anything then.
Yeah, or it's like, that's old.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I'm not sure if you do, get that feeling similar to looking over an old journal where you cringe, you go, I don't really feel like that anymore. Maybe I should bin that.
Yeah.
That's not
Yeah.
that's not who I want to be
Yeah.
represented or represent myself as.
Yeah. So yeah, exactly. It's the same thing really. As you said, like I think a song is really, it's capturing a moment, you know, in just audio format really, isn't it? I mean, and that can be the moment you make the song, you can be talking about what's happening now, or you can be talking about what's happened in the past, but the song is how you were feeling when you wrote it and made it. So I think it's important to put it out while you still feel like that.
Yeah,
because
because
when you change,
then you're
it
getting
can.
a more intense feeling or a more intense portrayal of that emotion.
Yeah, and to kind of bounce off that, like I spend so much time stopping what I'm doing and just writing a song because I feel something.
And that's important to do.
Yeah,
And it's important for others to realise that for creative people, that is part of the process.
it's hard for, I think, to explain it to other people sometimes that aren't maybe into music or that, you know, don't make music, because you're like, hold on, give me like 20 minutes, I have to write a song here, you know what I mean? Yeah, just stop what you're doing, because if you know, sometimes I've said to myself, no, I'll remember that, I'll write that later, and you just forget it. Or you can remember it and then you're like, it's not really, it doesn't flow the same, you know what I mean? Like sometimes you get a spark and then I write a verse in 5 minutes and
It's
I
just
feel
done.
it's just it's a brilliant verse. And then other times you can spend an hour if you're not really feeling it and you're like, this isn't going anywhere, and then you don't like it.
This is
And then
ass.
and then that song kind of has like negative connotations for you because you have some sort of resentment towards that feeling, I think. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
you feel it's not your best work.
Yeah.
Or you feel you could have done better.
Yeah.
And that's the thought that keeps you up at night.
Yeah.
It's lying there saying, I could have done more.
Yeah.
That needs to change. That could be better. That's everything else was good except for that line or
Yeah.
that verse or
Yeah.
that hi-hat section.
Yeah.
Which is actually back to our newest collab.
Yeah.
We had something similar to that at one stage where it was, yeah, this is really good. And then it was like a very attentive ear picked up on something to say,
Yeah.
let's change that.
Change it. Yeah.
And even though it took us a while to change, it definitely changed
helped.
for the better.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, that's
For sure.
important to do too. You know, you can't just, you know, me talking about efficiency and getting things done as quick as possible. It doesn't mean to just rush things and just say it'll be fine. It's good enough. It has to be to the standard that you want it to be.
It's striking that balance
But-
point is, I think, is the hardest thing to do.
Yeah, and I think there's not like really such thing as perfect. You can get very close to it, but you can, you know, as creatives, we're always going to say it. You know, you're probably hardest on yourself in a sense, and you see flaws and things that other people don't see. So, you know, if you didn't point out a flaw on something to somebody else, they probably wouldn't see it. But if you do point it out, then they either do see it or they think they can see it because you see it. You know what I mean? But
100%. And similar to the way that some beats are actually constructed. And I remember both of us having watched a certain video of a making of a J. Cole beat. I think it could have been Power Trip.
yeah,
or,
that's a brilliant video. Yeah.
or it could have been another beat. I'm trying to think which beat. It could have been Fire Squad or something else. And there was an underlying part in it that hadn't really popped to my ear when I listened to it before. Now I think it was Power Trip with that and that wasn't something that I had been hearing, and you had like pointed it out as to say, do you hear where that sort of falls under? And I was like, oh, now I do. But I didn't hear it. And the
Yeah.
same way that some people just vibe to the beat, they're not really taking in everything, but they would miss it if it wasn't there.
Yeah.
It's the same thing with the mistake, or not the mistake, or what you perceive to be the mistake. If you
Yeah.
don't point it out,
Yeah.
people aren't going to see it.
Yeah. Sometimes it's best to keep it to yourself.
Yeah,
You know, I suppose different situations call for like different approaches, but yeah, sometimes with that stuff, it's and we talked about that before in terms of like picking, as you said earlier, picking a snare, picking a hi hat. You could have narrowed it down to 3 hi hats, and you're trying to choose which one you're going to use in your song. It's just like, just pick one, because no one's going to listen to it and say, bro, you should have picked the other one, because they didn't know the other one existed.
yeah.
So it's just like, pick the one that's You know what I mean? Like no one's gonna be there trying to say, "Oh, you should have done this differently." This
You
like
should have done
if
this
the song sounds
differently,
good,
yeah.
it is.
If it's
good,
good,
you
it's
know,
good.
it's good. It's good. Yeah.
And if it works. And I recall a moment very early on in my musical journey watching Metallica's Some Kind of Monster documentary, and there was a section in it where the drummer Lars Ulrich discusses his love for art, and he was talking about a painting in this instance, but he spoke about when is art done, and when you say striving for perfection can often hinder your progress, because you have to ask yourself those questions. When is this done? When is this good enough? And if you don't have the correct tools to call a day on this project, or to say this is done, or to step out and look at it from the outside in, then you're going to be in trouble, because things are never going to get done.
Yeah. Like that works for me, that works for you too. I guess some other people are probably different. Like I actually heard just the other day, I was listening to an interview with somebody, and it was someone that had worked with Alchemist, the producer, the hip hop producer, and they were saying like Al is the type of guy that it's never done. The song's never done. Like he's just pulling his hair trying to make the song better, and they're like, no, we have to finish. You know what I mean? It's good. Like leave it. You know what I mean? But he's and obviously Al is like one of the best producers ever in my opinion. Anyway, so I guess it's just it whatever, you have to just know what works for you. I think.
Yeah, it's finding what works for you is probably one of the most important things, and realizing there is no one size fits all.
Yeah,
it's going to be a unique experience.
Yeah,
for each and every one of us.
Definitely, yeah.
Brilliant. Well, moving on from that, what I would like you to give our listeners an inside scope of is your setup, or what you're using to make your beats, what you're using to produce all this fire music.
Yeah, so
fire in the boot.
Fire in the boot. It's quite a simple setup. I think, we spoke about that before. It's like I feel lucky that I just need a laptop and a microphone and an interface.
And it's quite portable too.
Yeah.
Like you could bring...
Yeah, and I have done. I've brought it places. You can bring it to a hotel room. You can bring it, set it up in like 10 minutes, and you're cooking.
The most important thing for anyone hoping to start this is that you don't have a Happy Meal mic.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
White Boy used to say back in the day. White Boy 7th Street. We're going to throw it back with some footage after on the Patreon of us playing.
Of Luke trying to quickscope.
Me trying to quickscope, which will take a lot longer than Michael trying to make a beat. I was no good at it then. I'm certainly not any better at it now.
Many broken controllers there, still has.
God damn it!
The setup, it's portable, and I think coming back to having a home studio, it's important to just have your things easy. Like I love the idea of making things as easy as possible for you to do, because in terms of music, if you took that as an example, I have my laptop on my desk, I have my mic on this stand, and I have my interfaces all right. All I have to do is open my laptop and turn on Phantom Power on my mic, and I can make a song.
You're ready to rock.
If I didn't have any of that, and I had to, I have an idea, or I feel like maybe I might be in the mood to make music in 3 hours, let me book a studio, and then you have to drive, like the spark's lost. You know what I mean? It's
gone.
like, you have to put the gym like in your house. You know what I mean? If you're practicing, if you're going to the gym and it's half an hour away, you're not going to practice as much.
Yeah, if you make it easier for yourself to do, you'll do it. And if you make it more difficult, the likelihood of you not doing it goes up.
Goes up, yeah, exactly. You can put it off. It's easier to make excuses. If you... When you make the decision to just do something, that's the most important bit, because you're already there. That's already the hard bit.
And
you
the
just
small
go and do it
things
then.
Can hinder you from doing the big things.
Yeah, facts. Yeah.
I would see that myself with the like of keeping the studio clean. Something really small that people might say, "Oh man, what does that have anything to do with recording or bits and pieces?" But if the studio's a mess and you've shit strewn everywhere, and you're like, oh no, I'm not going to record because I got to spend an hour cleaning this, and that's going to vibrate, or it's going to create unwanted noise, or that's going to sound really poor, then you'll kick it down the road for another day.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, the gear, sorry, went on a bit of a tangent there, I think. But
that's no good.
But yeah, the gear, it's really just, what I use is, I use Logic Pro 10 as my DAW, my software. I actually still use Focusrite Scarlett 2i2, exact same interface I've always used since I was 15. From day one, never let me down. And I've upgraded. I used to use a Rode NT1A mic, and I use a Neumann TLM 103 now.
It got the road.
Yeah, it was kicked down the road. But it's like, you don't need the best equipment. You know, you have to master the equipment that you have first, and before you upgrade. I think some people think you have to jump in at the deep end. You might end up drowning then, you know what I mean, in what you have. So I started with simple, learned the basics, learned how I like to use it, and then upgraded when I found its limits and what were the limiting factors of it, and then bought gear that would allow me to reach my potential, I think, as well, which, like this mic, not to go into, well, maybe you do want to go into like really specific details on it, but
just before we do, for any listeners out there who are considering taking a leap in some direction with their craft or creativity in regards to recording, even in regards to learning an instrument, what Michael has just said is absolute gold. You're best finding out what the gear you have will do before moving on. And that's a really, really important factor, because if you jump in at the deep end, the likelihood is that you won't drown because you'll be above water. But what actually will happen is you could get frustrated hugely, because it's similar to the saying that Michael Jordan had. It's not about the shoes, it's about what you do in them. So you can have the most expensive mics in the world, most expensive preamps, interfaces, use the most complex DAWs or studio recommended DAWs, industry standard, and if you can't use it, it's not going to be worth the shite to you.
Yeah, it's a waste of time. Yeah. So you have to figure out how to do what you want to get done first, and then go from there. Like, I mean, when I started making music, it was literally just, I didn't start doing absolutely everything. I did pretty much everything, but I didn't produce music until a couple of years after I started recording. I used to just buy beats and work with different producers, and then similarly found the limitations of that like very quickly, and said I need to do this myself and grow from there, and that's helped too. But you know, what I'm saying is, it was just, I used to open up like Reaper. I used to use Reaper, and I'd load the beat, and it would just be an MP3 one track beat, and just use that, you know what I mean?
Just spit over that,
set up the mic, spit over that, do a couple of, probably didn't even used to do doubles or ad-libs, I don't even know, or you know what I mean? It'd be like a verse, hook, verse, like that'd be it. It'd be like,
no layers.
There'd be like 5 tracks in the whole song, you know what I mean? And then like really simple processing on it. But it got me to where I am now, you know what I mean? You have to just start by, just take the leap, and just, it's more important to start, you know, if you are thinking of doing something, just start.
You're best to start. You're best to just, like the wise words of Mac Miller, you got to jump in to swim.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you can't, if you sit there thinking, oh, I'm going to start this in a year when I have this, and when this is right, and when the timing of this is better, and when I feel like, they're all excuses, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
you have to just
you got to take on what's here and now and just get stuck into it. A consistent effort, back to that again.
Yeah, for sure.
Something small. If you can only allocate 10 or 15 minutes to it, you're going to be learning.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, back to the gear spec. Or on top of that, is there anything else you're using? Or that's really it? That's it.
The core. Yeah. Well, sorry, for like headphones, I use Audio-Technica ATH M50Xs, and for studio monitors, I have Yamaha HS7s, and as well as that, I mean, I have like 2 MIDI controllers. I have a little Akai, I think it's MPD 218, and then I have a Yamaha MIDI keyboard as well. And
Not a
I have
Yamaha Beams engine.
no, not one of those. And I have an Audio Technica turntable as well for, you know, you can sample with it, or you can just listen to records with it. That's pretty much all the gear. You know, you just need simple stuff if you're doing hip hop. You don't need anything crazy. You don't need anything crazy. You know what I mean? That's pretty much the gear that I use that's got me this far. And honestly, don't need much more than that. If you don't need anything more than that, you know what I mean?
Yeah,
You can
sure.
upgrade it and make those things the best versions of them, but don't need them yet. You know what I mean?
Excellent.
Yeah.
Well, where can we find you on social media?
So my name's Micko, and on Instagram it's Micko. So at its.Micko. Twitter or X is _Micko, and then you can check out my website is micko.co, micko.co, and you can get all the links there. So, you know, all the streaming platforms, you know, everyone you can think of, it's just Micko, Micko.
Brilliant. Give it up for Micko, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much.
Cheers, Luke. Appreciate it, man.
A quick fire question before you go. What would your Desert Island album be? Or mixtape?
Jesus.
Or if that's two,
No, I'll go with that.
we can do 3.
3, no, it's going to be harder. It's going to be this next EP I drop.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
To
I'm
be
looking
honest,
forward to
yeah.
hearing that.
Because there's nothing better than
You
listening
got
to
to be
something
your own
that,
biggest fan.
yeah. There's nothing better. It's like, right, if you make music and you're happy with what you make, you don't want to listen to anything else. I like
Yes.
listening to my own music because I love it.
That's why you made it.
Yeah,
Because you
'cause
felt
it's-
it wasn't there.
Because it didn't exist.
You
It was
wanted
something the
to
world
make-
needed, and I gave the world that piece of music.
Yeah.
And then I love it. You know what I mean? So, like, honestly, that's
That's not the only thing you gave the world, but we'll talk about that another day. Oh yeah, we better not start down
No.
this rabbit hole.
all right. Thanks, Luke.
Micko, thank you
Cheers,
very
man.
much.
Appreciate it. Yeah,
Thank you.
no problem. Cheers.